And you press the slate off. Welcome to the Your Illini Nation pregame show, the regular season finale, live here from Evanston. Bret Beherns along with Jeremy Werner from Illini Inquirer. And what do we know, Jeremy? A lot to play for today for the Illini. They do need some help, so we'll start with this. Illinois must win today to play for the Big Ten West title next week in Indianapolis, and they must get some help from the Hoosiers after Nebraska beats Iowa yesterday. What a turn of events after those back-to-back losses to start the month. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, here we go. Nebraska, again, allowing Illinois athletics to have a chance at a Big Ten championship. Basketball did it with an upset against Wisconsin to give Illinois a chance to beat Iowa and win the Big Ten championship in basketball. And now last night's win for Nebraska. Barely held on, but they did. I wonder if Bret Bielema or Jeff Brom will be sending an edible arrangement or something to Trey Palmer and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. But here you go. You got a chance. You don't control your own destiny, Bret. You got to hope Indiana plays like they did against you in Bloomington, but they have a chance against Purdue today to play spoiler. And Illinois has a chance to play for 2 trophies today. The Landon Lincoln Trophy is really important. Pat Fitzgerald has owned them in this rivalry, 11-5. But is the tide turning under Bret Bielema, right? Bret Bielema wins his first Landon Lincoln Trophy game. And Pat Fitzgerald's program is heading in the wrong direction, while Illinois seems like it is trending in the right direction. So you got 2 trophies potentially to play for, and you're playing for bowl positioning. So a lot to play for in the regular season finale, despite losing 3 straight games in November.
Pretty crazy. We saw Alex Palczewski walk in about 30 minutes ago. He had the Landon Lincoln Trophy with him, the hat. They won it last year for the first time in a long time. Illinois hasn't won here since 2014. It's been a long time. I remember that game like yesterday in a sense. Tim Beckman to clinch bowl eligibility probably saved his job at that point too, back in 2014. How far this program has come really up and down since that time. In one way, it seems like a long time ago, Jeremy. In another way, it seems like an eternity.
Clayton Fedulum with a big game there. And yes,
still in the NFL.
Illinois had the paperwork ready to fire Tim Beckman after that game. But the higher-up said no. They made a bowl game. Why would he fire the guy? And what do you know? Program went through a lot of turmoil after that.
Found their way to the Heart of Dallas Bowl, right? In 2014, where they lost to, I believe, to Louisiana Tech. But here we are today, ready to talk some Illinois football, and 3 straight losses here coming in. This month has not gone the way Illinois wanted it to. When you take a look back here, we had so much optimism coming out of Nebraska about what could be for this program and this team to take another step forward. As you've had time to reflect here, what do you pinpoint about what's gone wrong for Illinois to be in this position they are today?
Yeah, certainly has not followed the storybook script we all thought coming into November, where this could be a 10-win kind of season for Illinois, or they could have gone into Michigan as a top 10 team, potentially knock them off and be in the college football playoff conversation heading into the Big Ten championship game. They've not played clean football. That is the most important thing. They played such clean football. There were some mistakes here and there, but Michigan State came in kind of, rallied the troops after all that suspensions at Michigan. Played pretty well, but Illinois shot itself in the foot time after time. And against Purdue, it felt like the pressure finally got to Illinois. Finally felt like they were the targeted instead of the ones doing the targeting, right? Like they had the target on their backs. And Purdue played free and played a better game than Illinois. I thought they played really well at Michigan. To me, it was one of the best games of the season. Of course, you'd like to get a first down or 2 late in that game. We can, have a picadillo about some play calls or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, Illinois did not make the plays at the end of the game, and they didn't get a couple breaks there with some of the calls that didn't go their way, and some of the calls have not gone their way. But they played close football. They just haven't been able to close out some wins here. But you get a game against a Northwestern team today that is really struggling, and they are not a good offensive team. And that's a great matchup for Illinois' defense. But Northwestern has, been feisty here recently. In a windy, terrible day to start here in Evanston against Ohio State, they held Ohio State to 21 points. Last week they go to West Lafayette, hold Purdue to 17 points. So if Illinois doesn't play clean football again, Illinois could lose one here. We've seen some Illinois teams play some bad Northwestern teams. Andrew Marty in 2019 coming down to Illinois and upsetting a bowl-bound Illinois team. This means a lot. This is Northwestern's Super Bowl here, so Illinois still has to play a good football game to come out of here with a win.
Yeah, and even with the slim chance Illinois does make the Big Ten West. For me, it's all about just ending the regular season with some momentum and trying to get some positive vibes, not only for the team, but for recruiting as well as you get into December here. And they're playing for bowl positioning. If you get to that 8th win, you're going to be in a better bowl than you would be if you were a 7-5 team, probably in some type of New York Bowl or, you know, a lower tier bowl. So for me, that's what it comes down to today. Do you expect them to be prepared? Because I do with the Bret Bielema team. I think the outlier was probably Purdue. I fully agree with you that the pressure was there against Purdue. The players even mentioned that after the game. They felt a little bit of pressure of, hey, they've never been here before, never done this before type of moment. And Purdue hasn't either. Purdue's never played for a Big Ten West title. They have that opportunity today with a win over their rival Indiana. I expect them to be ready, though, today.
Yeah. No, I think they've been ready to play the last couple games. I just think when the game has started, they haven't played as clean, and some of the warts we'd seen in wins were kind of exposed a little bit more, whether it's converting on short yardage situations, 4th downs, we'd seen things like that, penalties.
Sure.
This team has been penalized a lot this season. Indiana was one of those, but it's really come back to hurt them the last couple games. So they have to clean some things up. Some screen passes have hurt them on defensively, but I thought they were completely prepared last week. I think they'll be focused on a trophy game today, and I do think having that West Championship back within grasp, it should focus them. This shouldn't be a sleepy performance by Illinois, and I would imagine Illini fans might outnumber Northwestern fans today. So you're right, Bret. You don't want this season to be kind of coincide with 2011, right? Where you have a great start, but you fade down the stretch, right? This, if you lose today, that kind of has some vibes of 2011 where you lose your final 4 games. They lost the final 6 that year. It just doesn't feel the same. If you win today, there's no doubt this is a successful season. 8-4, 5-4 in the Big Ten, going to Nashville or Florida or Charlotte. That'd be a top 5 bowl game for the Big Ten. That'd be a successful season for Illinois despite the disappointment of maybe not taking advantage of 7-1 start.
Yeah, I would agree. It is windy out here. The hair is a little bit of an issue for everyone but Jeremy.
That's right.
So maybe the wind a little bit of an issue today. We've seen that in some games. Looks like it's coming directly out of the south here, heading north at Ryan Field. So field position once again. We haven't seen Illinois handle that very well. All things considered, the punting game, the special teams have been anything but special for this program, and maybe it cost them a game or two.
Oh, it has cost them a lot. And I failed to mention that when I talked about some of the issues.
Sure.
Special teams is a huge reason they've lost 3 of their losses. I think against Michigan State, against Indiana, and last week against Michigan, special teams was a huge problem. Hugh Robertson's had good moments. He's also had really bad moments, and they have not played complimentary football on that side. And then you brought up the wind. It is a beautiful, sunny, 50-degree day here, right on the lake north of Chicago. But it is windy going in one direction. And that has changed a lot of what Bret Bielema has done in the special teams kicking game, right? Like Caleb Griffin has come back. I think he's been solid when he's gotten opportunities, but Bret Bielema has not really pulled the trigger on these 50-plus yard field goals, 45-plus yard field goals, and that's played a difference in these one-possession games. I thought especially against Michigan where their kicker was phenomenal. Jake Moody, probably all Big Ten first-team kicker, makes 4 field goals in those elements. Illinois has not had the confidence in their kicking game, and to be honest, their punting game, to be able to close out those games. It's played a huge role in putting the defense in really bad positions. Yeah,
I feel like if you have Blake Hayes on this team, that's another win, probably.
James
McCourt, and I don't know if it's necessarily a knock on Caleb Griffin. It's just he hasn't been healthy. The inconsistency there in the kicking game has been the problem with me, and it's a pretty significant win. I mean, I'm no meteorologist Kevin Leidy here. I'd say at least 15 to 20 miles an hour coming out of the south, where it's going to take maybe you're on the 24. You would kick a field goal if you were with the wind. Now you have to try and go for it on a 4th and 3 or 4th and 4.
Which they have not been good at the last couple weeks. They started the season really well. And hey, Bret Bielema was being aggressive, but it's been hurting them recently because, and I don't blame them for being aggressive at places like Michigan, but it's hurt them. That field position, the special teams game, if you're grading the special teams this year, is a D the most positive grade you could potentially give them?
Maybe, it's below a C. Yes. C- would be the best, I feel like. If you can end maybe something well today here. Because I do think of Iowa, a 9-6 game where, that's all you had was special teams, and they did come through in that. But even the kickoff game, I don't feel like it's necessarily been that good. We've seen some blunders and some issues on kickoff and kickoff return.
The punt return last week was a killer, absolute killer. That set up a field goal. Hugh Robertson's poor punt, set up a field goal. Those 6 points had a huge swing in the game.
Yeah. All right, we'll say this several times here. Illinois has to win today, and they need some help from the Hoosiers. Indiana has to beat rival Purdue, which it's funny, Jeremy, like if you would have told me yesterday going into that Nebraska-Iowa game, okay, you could pick one. You could pick Nebraska beating Iowa, or you could pick Indiana beating Purdue. I probably would have taken Indiana beating Purdue. I don't know, how would you have felt in that if you had to pick one scenario for Illinois to help out?
Well, coming off Indiana's surprise win at Michigan State in double overtime, they're fighting, right? Like Nebraska, now that's the new head coach, and Matt Rule. It's a heck of a hire for them. But you're wondering how much they have to play for. The difference is Nebraska has one special player, and Trey Palmer, which you look
Illinois
back,
shut down.
You look back, it's an amazing. Devin Witherspoon, Quan Martin, Taz Nicholson, what those guys did against Trey Palmer was phenomenal, and why those guys will start to receive some real honors here in the postseason. But they had a huge game, and they were able to hang on kind of there at the end, withstand Iowa's defense, setting them up for good moments, but their defense made a few stops on Iowa's bad offense. And here you go, you have a chance again. So would I pick Indiana to beat Purdue today? No, but I don't think Purdue's a great team, right? I don't think they're a great team. And ESPN's FPI, their Football Power Index, Illinois' odds with that Iowa loss improved from about 10% to win the West to about 23%.
Okay.
So you have more of a chance to do it. It's exciting, though, that Illinois, with all of its errors in November and some of the things that have gone against them, they still have a chance. They still have the chance to go to Indianapolis and play either Ohio State or Michigan, who are in a heck of a battle right now.
Yeah, and I do think, like, if you're looking at scenarios, which I think a lot of Illini fans are, and, we are too in the media, like, okay, what could play out? For us, it's bowl destinations. It's like, okay, can we get to Florida, right? Like, that's what we're really considering here and thinking
Nashville
about.
Would be nice.
I'll take Nashville. That'd be okay.
Or Pasadena.
Or that.
If Illinois wins today and wins the Big Ten championship game, which
let's dream here, Illini Nation. Why not? Okay, take me in.
You would go to the Rose Bowl. If you're the Big Ten champion, you go to the Rose Bowl as long as you're not going to the college football playoff, which we know Illinois would not.
I think, all right, if we're just like singing big picture here too. Okay, let's say Michigan beats Ohio State. TCU loses, so they're out of 4. Does the college football playoff take 2 Big Ten teams?
I think Ohio State would still have a great chance of getting
there. Just because of the brand name, and I don't know how much that really plays into it. I feel like it does. Like, they want the brand name Ohio State there. Sure. With a one-loss Ohio State with so many 2-loss teams this year.
I think it'd still be in the college football playoff.
So if the college football playoff took both Ohio State and Michigan, if Michigan beats Ohio State today and then wins the Big Ten champion, they're in the playoff. That bumps up then what? Penn State to the Rose Bowl?
Yeah.
Potentially. And that gets Illinois almost assuredly into a Florida Bowl then.
Yeah. I'd probably put them in the Citrus Bowl or the ReliaQuest Bowl. And if everything goes like to what the expectation is today, I think Illinois probably would be in Nashville in the Music City Bowl, still with a chance to go to Florida.
Sure.
Duke's Mayo and Charlotte wouldn't be a bad destination.
But I feel like those are the 2 floors, right, of where we're at today for this Illinois program.
But if they lose today,
sure,
Pinstripe, New York City, kind of back into the mix.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how many people want to go to New York City around the holidays and sit in the cold weather there in Yankee Stadium.
I do feel like if it is Nashville, or even Florida, but it's certainly Nashville, 6-hour drive from Champaign, I feel like Illini Nation would travel a ton to Nashville on New Year's Eve. That game's December 31st.
If Illinois wins today, I think this is a season worth celebrating.
100%.
It's not where you want to be.
Yes.
It's not where you hoped you were going to be at the start of November. But this is a huge step forward to be the best season in 15 years for Illinois. The first winning Big Ten season, first 8-win season since 2007 when they went to the Rose Bowl. And I think fans would rally around them and head down to Nashville. That short drive, who wouldn't want to be in Nashville for New Year's? That'd be a great destination. But certainly, a trip to Indy would be a nice start. Yeah,
I think that would be certainly warranted for this program for what they were, because I just distinctly remember after the Nebraska game, driving home and they can do this. Holy smokes, Illinois is in position to control its own destiny to get to Indy.
Yeah, taking you behind the curtain, we were talking about, hey, we're going to get an Airbnb together? What are we doing here? Going to Indy.
And I thought it was realistic. And even I know some people were chatting after the Wisconsin game, certainly Minnesota. I was a little bit more hesitant. I was like, hey, let's let this play out, see where it's at, because they've never done this before. And then I got real quick. And then it got real the other way real quick with Illinois falling out of controlling its own destiny. All right, let's talk about this game. A lot to play for today for Illinois on the field. And I think it all starts with Chase Brown once again. This Nebraska defense has not been very good, other than a few moments. They've lost 10 straight games, haven't won since August. That seems like an eternity to go.
Haven't
when they
won
beat
in the
Nebraska.
United States this year.
Yes, I like that. How about that? That's a line in there. If somehow Nebraska did win, like they'd be their first U.S.-bound win this season. But can Chase Brown continue to move up, finish his outstanding season, one of the best seasons in program history, now #2 rusher all time at Illinois? Pretty incredible.
Yeah, and he's 116 yards away from setting the single season rushing record, which Mikel was sure a big part of that was what he did against Northwestern at Wrigley Field. But he's got a chance to get 1,700 rushing yards this season. He's got a chance to really make another statement in his Doak Walker candidacy. There's some really good running backs. Blake Corum, Mo Ibrahim. One of these guys has to be left off the All-Big Ten first team, which is crazy. Bijan Robinson at Texas. But Chase Brown could end the year start to finish, leading the FBS in rushing yards, at least during the regular season. What a year it's been. It's been one of the best single seasons in Illinois history, certainly from a rushing standpoint. And him for overcome, he's had more carries already in 11 games than any Illinois running back in a single season. He's an All-American most likely if he ends today with 1,700 plus rushing yards in the season. He's a phenomenal player, and this is probably, I mean, this could be, if he doesn't want us to play in the bowl game, which I think Chase, competitor, he might want to, this could be the last time we see him in an Illinois uniform. Yeah. But he's deserving of that because of what he's done the last 2 years especially. Been a phenomenal get for them. Him and Sidney Brown are going to go down as two Illini greats. But yeah, I think Northwestern, they're not a good defense. They played better the last couple weeks. They do get physical. But Illinois' offensive line set the tone last week against Michigan, did a great job blocking for him. I think this should be another big day for Chase Brown as long as he stays healthy and as long as he holds on to the football because Illinois has certainly been better rushing the football against better teams than Northwestern.
Yeah, for all the question marks we had, deservedly so, against Michigan State and Purdue and the offensive line for the Illini, I thought they really performed pretty well last week and answered a lot of questions to pave some holes for Chase. 140 yards in Michigan's not something to just sniff at. I mean, they're the #1 defense in the country for a reason. Yeah,
that's one of the most physical defenses you'll see in the country. And Illinois owned them up front for a large part of that game. Started off a little slow, but really got going in the second and third quarters. They just got to clean up some of those penalties. We've seen a lot of false starts. We've seen some holdings and some really inopportune times. Otherwise, I thought Illinois played an A game against Michigan up front. But yeah, if they can clean up some of those penalties, I think they should have a good day because Northwestern's got some decent defenders, but they're not quite as good as they've been in recent years on defense.
I thought about Chase Brown sitting out the bowl game too, and I don't think he will.
Yeah,
but there's possibilities there. I mean,
who could blame him if he did?
I would not blame him if he said, okay, hey, look, my agent's telling me this, whatever else. He's going pro. We know that much. But he is going to play in the Senior Bowl, or at least an invite there. I think he'll play, but I think it's a question worth asking. I mean, certainly in this day and age where there's so many guys doing that, and he's going to get a guarantee, right? Like they sign these insurance policies where they get a guarantee if they do get hurt in the bowl game or in their Senior Bowl All-Star game that they're still going to get some money. But it's a question worth asking, Jeremy.
I mean, he's being projected as a late day 2, early day 3 pick. That's a lot of money.
Yes,
that's a lot of money. Devin Witherspoon. I couldn't we're getting ahead of it, but I couldn't blame Devin Witherspoon for sitting out because he's probably a second-round pick, maybe a first-round pick. Johnny Newton.
Yeah.
That's good problems to have when you have players like this.
We haven't had to talk about that in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, the offseason, Illinois could have 5 draft picks. They haven't had that in a very long time in this program. That's a credit to the talent that Lovie Smith was able to get here, Bret Bielema able to develop it, the rest of his staff. So those are good problems to have when you can have those discussions about players maybe needing to sit out a bowl game, because sometimes that's the last chance for Illinois players to say, hey, I am an NFL draft pick. There's about 5 guys here that are probably guaranteed draft picks.
Knowing Devin and knowing Chase like we do, I just think there's too much competitor there. I don't see that happening, but you never know.
And if you're playing an SEC team, which you probably are at the bowl destinations, it's great, another chance to kind of show yourself in front of NFL
Maybe
staff.
In that sense, you bump yourself up. If you're a mid-second, maybe you can get to that late first if you're a Devin, or secure yourself as a mid-second round pick from Chase. Something to that effect, which wouldn't surprise me in that. And I think it's relevant today because if this is the last time we see them, then that's worth celebrating for Illini Nation, that these are, program-changing guys and laying the foundation for Bret.
And you mentioned it earlier, this is a big game for recruiting, right? Northwestern has recruited really well the last decade under Pat Fitzgerald, has done really well in state, especially in the Chicago suburbs. So for Illinois, this would be another feather in your cap.
Yes.
The hat, I guess, the feather in the hat.
Feather in the hat, I like that.
That you want to own this rivalry. And for Illinois, if they win today, they'd be 5-1 against Big Ten West opponents. The one loss to Purdue but that would be a nice sign for this program that against your peers, you are starting to win and starting to take a big step in the right direction.
Yeah, haven't beat Northwestern in back-to-back years since 10 and 11, so it's been a long time, decade plus, since Illinois has done that. And you mentioned it, Pat Fitzgerald has just owned Illinois. And like, he left Memorial Stadium in 19, I remember that, with a big old smile on his face, knocking off an Illinois team that they weren't better than Illinois that year. And like you had mentioned, even in 11, losing 6 straight, I get flashbacks of 19. They didn't finish the season well and didn't play well in the bowl game, particularly well, and left a sour taste heading into what was the COVID 20 year, but we didn't know that at the time. Another guy that has completely changed his program, Tommy DeVito, his second to last game at Illinois here today. What can he do against this Northwestern defense to set Illinois up well offensively?
Do what he's done all year, right? He just makes good decisions, is accurate with the ball. Man, if his wide receivers would have caught a couple more passes and not dropped them, I think Illinois would have come out of Michigan with a win. These are the kind of little things. But Tommy DeVito has not made big mistakes, right? Like
that's all we asked about at the beginning of the year.
Game-crushing mistakes that Illinois quarterbacks have made for more than a decade. He has not made them. He's been accurate. He's going to probably set a completion percentage record for a single season. Has a chance to wrap up the pass efficiency record in single season for Illinois history. So he's been a home run. He just got to continue to beat him. I don't think he's been running as much because that ankle has probably been bothering him. But man, he's been so good. They couldn't have asked for anything more. You'd love to get another year out of him. I don't know. I doubt that's going to be able to come through for Illinois with a waiver or anything like that. But
Bret will try.
Oh, he's trying.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll happen. Don't know if Tommy DeVito will want to be on the Tommy Boy plan either. But no, it's been a phenomenal year for him. He's just got to be him. I think it's about everything else cleaning up. Defense, don't give up these big screen passes. Special teams, clean it up. Offensive line, wide receivers, don't make these penalties and drops that have really hurt you. With Tommy DeVito and Chase Brown, you know what you're going to get every day, and that's part of the reason Illinois has a chance to get an 8th win today.
Yeah, and they've been largely healthy outside of the one scare a couple of weeks ago with Chase. Played last week in Michigan. I would expect him to be fine on that ankle today. Another ankle for Tommy DeVito last month, and he was able to bounce back, only missing that 1/2. So
I do want to mention one thing. Pat Bryant, who missed last week, didn't travel to Michigan. He is here.
Okay.
He traveled. He also was warming up, so I'd imagine Pat Bryant's good to go today.
Yeah, I don't think any other big injury news. I don't expect Josh McCray to play today.
No, Josh McCray's the one. I haven't seen him yet. We're at that point where if he doesn't play today, he's going to be under 4 games. I know Bret said, I don't know if he'll be here 4 years. Listen, I think a red shirt would probably be a good thing for Josh McCray.
Just take the red shirt. It's an extra. It's not going to do any harm. He doesn't have to use it. You just take the red shirt, and it is what it is. And I have wondered all along, you were going to play him if he was healthy, but if he's not there, I think Bret knows how valuable Josh will be next year and potentially the year after. You want to keep him as healthy as possible to set up the future. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see if Tyler Strain is back today. Had a concussion a couple of weeks ago. So we'll watch for some of those guys on defense that have been out the last couple of weeks. But I thought Xavier Scott played better last week. I mean, they certainly took advantage of him. But listen, this Northwestern offense, they got a quarterback problem. They've had a quarterback problem the last couple of years, ever since Clayton Thorson moved on. They got Peyton Ramsey for 1 year, and he was phenomenal, led him to a Big Ten championship. But they're on their, walk-on quarterback here. Bo Sullivan's been out with injury. Helinski's been out with injury.
Yeah.
I just don't see how Northwestern moves the ball through the air against this Illinois defense, especially the pass rush and the secondary. Evan Hull's a good player. Illinois recruited him out of Wisconsin, really fast, dynamic in both the running game and the passing game. But he and Malik Washington, who's a solid wide receiver, that's about it for their playmakers. So I expect Illinois' defense to have a dominant day.
And I feel like the defense is as confident as it's been. You're going to give up 19 points to Michigan. I don't know how you could ask for much more than that.
The offense, 6 of them are probably on your special teams, right? 6 of those points.
Yeah, sure. And, they gave up 1 touchdown. Yeah. And Michigan, if you would have told Ryan Walters that before the game, hey, you're going to give up 1 touchdown to Michigan, I think he would have said we're going to win the game.
Yeah.
So I think the defense is confident coming into today.
It was a big bounce-back performance for them. I thought Seth Coleman coming back was big. We had a dominant day from Johnny Newton, a dominant day from Devin Witherspoon. Both those guys have got to be in the conversation for Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know if they'll win it. Jack Campbell at Iowa is fantastic. Nick Herbert at Wisconsin is really good. But both those guys are probably going to make the leap to the NFL for a reason. They have been dominant players. I thought Keith Randolph was very, very good as well. So that's just a lot of talent for Northwestern to overcome at this point. So I think Illinois is going to have to give up a defense, special teams touchdown for Northwestern to cross into the high teens or early 20s in this game.
All right. let's get to it. What do you got on the site? What do you pick here in this game?
I had Illinois 27-6. I just think this defense should be dominant. I think when you got Tommy DeVito and Chase Brown, you feel good about your offense. I could see this game being mucked up for a little bit, like it was with Purdue, like it was with Ohio State. But I just think the talent-wise, Illinois is far better. I mean, outside of Peter Skoronski, who's like a first-round draft pick, we should probably mention him. Great chance for Seth Coleman and Gabe Akis to show themselves.
And more tape there, right?
To the NFL. But I just think Illinois is the more talented team, the better overall team, the more balanced team.
I think I'm kind of in that same realm. Like, I don't think Nebraska. I don't think Northwestern scores a touchdown today. I'll pick a couple field goals in there. I'll say they'll chirp off 9. I'll take like a 24-9 game. I do think that Northwestern will try to muck it up as much as possible. Literally have nothing to play for other than the hat. And Pat Fitzgerald, I think he's a good coach. I know a lot of Illini fans don't like him because he's done so well against Illinois. But
they wouldn't care about him if he didn't win.
Yeah, exactly. But like that up and down, ebb and flow of Northwestern football is just crazy, isn't it? Like every other year there's success. And
they got some issues. I mean, it'll be
like
interesting.
Holistic issues for the future.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. I mean, this would be if they lose today, it's 3 seasons out of the last 4, they'd have 1 Big Ten win and fewer than 3 overall wins. It's starting to get scary with other programs taking strides like Minnesota and Illinois and Purdue. All of a sudden, Northwestern looks like they're in real trouble. And they lost their defense coordinator, Mike Hankwitz, who was here the entire time with Pat Fitzgerald. He hasn't been here the last 2 years. Northwestern's defense has been bad the last 2 years. Their offense has quarterback problem. Haven't played well on offensively. So I wonder if he's got some big staff changes in the offseason.
Yeah, got to do something. And I don't think that he's going anywhere. Like, who are they going to get better here? You know what I mean? Like, sign a long-term extension.
I mean, he's been so good for them for so long. He's overachieved here. This is the toughest job in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's expecting him to win Big Ten championships, but I do.
But he's done that. Like, that's the crazy thing.
Right.
West titles.
So for me, it's about they got to get back to respectability and not being a doormat. And I think that's going to necessitate some staff changes.
All right, I'm picking 24-9. I know that's right around the cover number. We'll see what Illinois can do here and how it plays out. We'll note the Purdue-Indiana game also 2:30.
Yes.
So
this one might have a little more running. I'd imagine a lot of quarterback runs today for Northwestern. I would imagine Illinois, steady dose of Chase Brown. So I think this game will be over a little sooner. So maybe Illinois won't even know when it gets off the field whether it's in the Big Ten West Championship or not.
I know a lot of Illini fans will have maybe the dual screens going, 2 TVs, if you've got the setup for that, watching and really keeping an eye on it. It would be remarkable, Jeremy, and I do feel like this team is deserving to represent the Big Ten West for everything it's done this season, but it doesn't play out that way. You got to go win the games.
I think they're the best overall team in the Big Ten West. They're the most well-rounded, but Purdue beat you.
Yeah.
Right? Purdue beat you, and if they win 6 games, you win 5, they deserve to be there. But man, it's hard to say a deserving team in the Big Ten West given how much they're struggling, but the 3 best teams are in the Big Ten East. But after that, the West is deep. It made for a fun chase, just not so much for Illinois until the last moment, but they still have a chance.
All right. What do you got on the site here? Pregame reading before.
I got plenty from the basketball game last night.
We haven't talked about basketball.
Break down the scenarios of what could happen today. Iowa does still have a chance, by the way. If Illinois and Purdue lose, Iowa gets in the back door and has a chance to go to the Big Ten West or the Big Ten championship game for a second straight year. But after this game, start to focus on the offseason a little bit too. So we got plenty of content coming up about how Illinois is approaching recruiting, the transfer portal opening here very shortly, and what they need to do in the offseason to continue this progress for a program.
Yeah, because the transfer portal opens, it would not be this coming Monday, but the following Monday.
Yeah.
I think you will see several players move on from Illinois. You're going to see a lot more players come in as well in that.
And then you got early signing period with 2 big in-state prospects, Jair Hill, Malik Elzy, with Illinois towards the top of their list. It's going to be a very eventful month for Illinois football.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Plus a top 20 basketball team. Things are pretty good right now for Illini.
A little better to cover for us, huh?
You know, it just makes it a little bit more enjoyable to cover than talking to losing teams, which we have done plenty of through the years. All right, tune in on these same digital channels after the game. We'll carry the Illinois post-game press conference live with Bret Bielema in the closet that they have here for us at Ryan Field. Just a little dig there. It's so small here. They are getting a new field here, though.
It looks great. I think it's great.
8 it was, or
if you're Northwestern,
crazy?
Do a 30,000 stadium.
I don't even know if it was that big. Like, it was tiny.
If 20, 30,000, whatever it is, make it as nice as possible.
It did look nice.
This is the worst venue.
Without
in
a
the
doubt.
Big Ten by far.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's not even close. So, and like Jeremy said, I do think there's going to be a lot of orange here today. So if you are coming to the game, enjoy it. A beautiful day here at Ryan Field. If you are watching at home, hope you're all snuggled up on the couch for what should be a good final regular season game for Illinois. For Jeremy, I'm Brett. We'll see you after the game here for Bret Bielema's post-game press conference live on these same digital channels. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the game. Thanks. We're heading back up there to get some food. Hey, it might be ready now. I don't know. Maybe not.
Hey, we got it all set up.